Hey, what's up everybody? Tim here to talk about a new motor rack that we have available for 04 and up Sportsters. Stick around. So this is a new motor rack that we have available. They fit early Sportster, late Sportster, and Dyna. There's 3 different fitments. This one specifically is for late Sportsters. This is made in the United States right here in Northeast Ohio. 3-piece lasered construction with gussets, just really beefy material. They come powder coated. You can also buy one for the left side. This is a right side that I have. This would be great if you're trying to strap some stuff to your bike that may not be suitable for some saddlebags, say like some firewood for your camping or 12-pack or something like that. The rack has some holes around the perimeter that make it really easy for you to strap down, say with some bungee cords or say like a net or something like that to help secure the stuff onto the side of your bike. So this rack mounts to your bike really easy in just a couple spots. The more difficult part would be actually prepping this. You'll have to remove a couple things, but it's also really simple. I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing, I'm going to remove the turn signal, and it's a little tricky to get under there. So one of the things that I did is I just removed the lower bolts out of your shocks, and I'm going to jack this up just so I can get my hand under the fender and I'll be able to loosen some bolts and stuff and just get tools in there. So before we take the turn signal like perch off, we're going to unplug it from the tail light because the wires actually run inside the fender and then bolt, like clip into the board, I guess, in the tail light. So all you have to do is just take the cover off and you'll be able to easily unplug the tail light. So as you saw, I unplugged this side. This was actually for the tail light. And these are your turn signals right here. This is your left, this is your right. So we're just gonna unplug that, just kind of bring it down and just kind of get it, we can route it all the way back. Okay, now we got this loose. So all we'll have to do is loosen up the stud and we can pull this right out. So I have the nut off the stud for the turn signal, but to get this shroud off, we're gonna have to remove the seat. So I took the nut off, the bolt off of the back of the seat. We're gonna get this thing out of the way. There we go. So we're gonna get these 2 bolts out because there's actually a nut that holds the stud onto this steel cover. So if you just only wanna run the steel covers on your struts, you'll have to remove them completely so you can remove the turn signal from them and then bolt them back on, which is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take these 2 bolts out so we can get it out of the way. And I'm just fishing the wires through that hole. There we go. So as you can see, we got the stud on the inside. And so if you want to actually take this and run your steel covers, you could just remove this and then bolt everything back on. So this is the nut. It's a stud on the backside of the strut cover. And you just loosen this up. You're going to pull it out of the tail light. So it's totally loose. And for whatever reason, Harley decided to make this hole just small enough where you can't get this connector out. But don't cut it. We're just gonna deep pin it really quick, and then you can put it back because this thing's worth some money. And I don't know, you might want to go back. It's not worth cutting this thing out. So first thing you got to do is unclip the back of it. There's these 2 little clips on either side. There we go. And that piece folds over. He's got like 2 little tangs that are holding it on either side. And it just folds over out of the way. And now you got to reach in here. You can use a little wire or a little specialty tool that Todd hooked me up with. And it's got like these little clips that you're just gonna have to push down so you can pull each wire out. So to do these, there's like a little, you push the clip in and there's this little tang that comes down and actually holds the wire from being able to pull out. So you're gonna reach in and grab and pull that tang up to be able to get the wire out. So you kind of come down at a downward angle, push your like little removal tool in or maybe some welding wire or something, and then you're gonna get under that little plastic tang and pull up and it'll come right out. If it helps to get a flashlight or something. Got one out. And then, yeah, I'm coming in at a downward angle, so I'm like kind of riding against that little clip. And then you pull it right out. And then we could just remove that, and then we're just gonna put them back in. Putting them back in the same spot that they were. And we're setting these aside because we're not actually going to use those, but we're just going to keep them. So that was a decent amount of work just to get everything off of the strut covers, but they look a lot better than just the stock frame, like cast pieces that are on here. And also everything that I'm about to show you will work with these or without them. But I just wanted to show you why some of the pieces come with washers and such. So we're going to show you how to do this. You can just run it without them and it'll be the exact same thing. You'll just have to make sure that the bolt doesn't protrude into your fender to give you clearance issues to the tire. That'll be the only difference with running strut cover or without the strut cover. So we're fishing those on. Fishing those on like so. And we swapped out the stock sissy bar that was on here, and I'm going to be installing this nice Gasbox sissy bar just to show you that the motor rack is compatible with some other parts, just to give you more options of places to strap things to. And so the 04 and up Gasbox sissy bar has these washers that are tacked on the inside of the plates, these side plates. It can snap in these little bosses that are on the struts on these covers, so they're not actually like smushing them flat, because these struts have like little embossments right here, and that's what those are designed to do. And there's also little washers in the motor rack kit that if you're not running the sissy bar, that you'll be able to use to snap into those locations. They'll do the exact same thing. It's just for these little embossments here. So we're putting the sissy bar on. So you'll see in the kit with the hardware and the washers that there's going to be a few different ways that you could bolt this thing up. And I want to explain why certain washers and spacers exist. So like I showed you before, there's washers tacked onto the inside of these side plates, and there's some thin washers in that kit we provided that are the same size as those. And so if you're not running the sissy bar, you'll have to use those inside these strut covers. If you're not running the strut covers, you will not need these. So there's just a couple variations. So the only time that you need to have those washers between these strut covers and something is when you run these strut covers. If not, you're not going to have to use them. But there's also a difference in the strut mounts from front to back. They're not actually on the same plane. The strut mounts more to the rear are 1/4 inch in. So these stand 1/4 inch proud of that. So to make up for that and not have this jog in it like the sissy bar, we gave you a 1/4 inch spacer that you'll have to mount on the back of this. So all of these principles will be the same of how you bolt this together. It kind of just depends on maybe what you're running. If you run the strut covers, you just need to have a washer in between. If you have the sissy bar already on, it takes up the slack in the strut covers, and then you can just bolt that on top of it with your 1/4 inch spacer. If you don't have the sissy bar and you don't have the strut cover, you can bolt that motor rack on and then just put your 1/4 inch spacer in the rear. When you bolt all this together, you just need to check that the bolt isn't protruding into the fender area too much to where it's going to give you clearance issues with your tire. One of the things, like a good rule of thumb, is just to make the bolt flush with the top of the nut when everything's tight. And if it's sticking out anything past, you might want to just put a washer under the head of the bolt just to bring it in a little bit. But so we're using the sissy bar, and we're going to put the motor rack on top, 1/4 inch spacer in the rear, the longest bolt in the rear, the second longest one in the front, and that's how our stack up's going to be for this specific application. It might be best if you just kind of try to mock everything up, and then once you get it on there and tight, you'll really know what needs to be changed to get it better fit to your bike, and just some checks that you might want to make. So like before, don't forget to use some blue Loctite. And second longest one in the front, longest one in the rear. And then we got our 1/4 inch aluminum spacer. So we'll flip this around. I gotta get this bolt out of the way, but there we go. that together. Just fish that through. Okay. Okay, and we're snugging that up, and like I said before, you want the bolt to be flush with the top of the nut. And we're going to tighten up the back. There we go. I showed you earlier in the video that you're going to have to eliminate the stock turn signals, and we pulled those out of there. But if you would like to run turn signals, we gave you nice mounts on here for some aftermarket ones. So you'll bolt the aftermarket turn signals here, and then this is just a little hole for you to zip tie them and secure the wires, and then they can actually pass through into the fender right here, and then to get back to where they will clip in your tail light. So as you can see, that was a super easy install, just a couple bolts, maybe a confusing washer stack up, but not as complicated as it sounds, or at least I made it sound. If you wanted to bolt on a left rack, we have those available as well. It bolts on exactly the same. We also have a skateboard rack that bolts on the left side that you can check out how that fits in a different video. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps, and you can find all these parts and more at lowbrowcustoms.com.